happened, um, again, I was working with the girl, and then the sister was, she was blocking everything, and the girl was really, really sick, right? And so the sister wanted me to do all these different remedies and these different treatments, like fever bath. And all. That girl, she was too weak for that. She couldn't do that, and she was constipated. So my thing is, I was trying to get her bowels to move, right? Because I'm trying to get those toxins out of her body. And so I did an enema on her. I did. So the sister just got upset because it was like to her, I wasn't doing anything. And so this was a week. I'd been there a week. So at the end of the week, she says, you know what? We don't need your services anymore, and you can leave. Now, where am I going to go? My ticket was a round trip ticket, right? And it was for 2 weeks. So the first thing I thought about was, that's why I didn't want to do this work. Remember when I was complaining the first time? But I never complained, right? I just said, okay, Lord. I said, this is funny. This is cute. I said, okay. I said, but Lord, what do you want me to do? So there was a family over there that was Adventist. And one of those family members she called that family member because the girl had a vegan restaurant. And called me she called one of those family members that had the vegan restaurant. She called her. So I went over and I was talking to her and I was telling her the whole story. Then I found out that I wasn't the first person that was over there that she did this to. It was somebody else that she did it to as well. And so I was like, okay. So she was like, well, since you're here, you may as well, you can just stay with me, for another week. And I said, okay. So I stayed with her and had a ball. I was just working with her in her vegan restaurant, right? We were having fun and we were just cooking and just enjoying ourselves. Now her brother has a church. And so the brother asked me to speak in the church. So I went to the church and I spoke, and I just kind of briefly gave my testimony of me being over there and what happened. I didn't mention any names about the people or anything like that because it's small. It's a small, little island. Everybody knows everybody, right? So I wasn't going to say the names. But then after that, um, Mayman was getting ready to go to Switzerland. So I'm still over there with my newfound friend, right? And she said, oh, I'm going to Switzerland too. She said, you coming too? I said, how am I going? I don't have no money to go. She said, you going? She said, just look for a ticket. So I go, okay. So I go and I start searching the internet. So at night, I'll be in her room and I'd be looking on the internet. And I saw this ticket. It said a round trip ticket to Switzerland for $400. Round trip for 2 weeks. That's like unheard of. You ain't gonna get no ticket to Switzerland for $1,400. And I said, I took it over to her. I said, do you see that? She said, book it. I said, I don't have no money to book. She said, book the flight. And I'm like, how am I get? So we booked it. She said, this is what we're going to do. She said, at the end of the week, we are going to have a fundraiser for you at the restaurant. And all the proceeds from the restaurant going to go to you. And I said, wow. I said, okay, thank you. So we did, and people came in, and we were talking to people, and we had a grand time, right? Didn't think nothing else of it. So at the end of the day, she brought me into her room, and she said, okay. She said, you don't have to worry about your ticket. She said, my brother paid for your ticket. Your ticket is paid for. She said, this is how much we collected at the end of the week for you. And then I found out that there was a lady that was sponsoring people to come over to help this girl. And so the lady was actually in the restaurant with us. And she came in and she was talking and I was talking to her. Didn't think nothing of it. Well, she turns around and she gives me my first week's pay that I didn't get paid for. So I ended up leaving the Bahamas with a round trip paid ticket to Switzerland and about $1,100 in my pocket. That's how the Lord takes care of you. That's how he takes care of you. And then I went back to my friend some years later, right? And I said, remember that story you told me about how somebody kicked you out of your house? And she said, yeah, I remember that. She said, but that wasn't the end of the story. The end of the story was somebody ended up paying her way home, and she got this, and she got that, and she got that. It ended the same way. And I was like, wow. I was like, Lord, you are awesome. He's awesome. But anyway, that was just a part of my testimony when it comes to doing this work. So don't, if the Lord tells you to do something, do it. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about, how this is going to get paid, how my light's going to get paid, how this is going to happen. The Lord provides. I tell you, I've been doing this work for 10 years now, and there is not a day that has not gone by that I have not eaten, that I've not had a roof over my head, and that I've not had a car to drive, and I've not had my means taken care of, my needs. God has provided. He has provided, and by his grace, I believe that he will continue to provide. So what we're going to talk about this afternoon is hypertension. Hypertension, even though it's I should say, a kind of a simple subject, but yet it is in depth and is something that plagues us as a people a lot. So I'd like to start off by reading this quote. It says, disease is an effort of nature to free the system. By the way, this is one of my favorite quotes. It's an effort of nature to do what? So if it's freeing the system, is it a friend or is it a foe? Right. Disease is a friend because it's trying to let you know you have done something to me that I need you to help me to correct. That it's a effort of nature to free the system from what? From conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. Who violated the laws of health? That would be me, and that would be you, right? So what's the first thing that should be done? In the case of sickness, the cause should be what? Ascertain. I've never learned that. I never knew anything about that until I came across this quote, and I was like, whoa. Because you never taught that. I know when I grew up, my father has a Ziploc bag of medication. And you see older people when you're young with a whole bunch of medication. And you just think, at least I thought, that's just the way it's going to be. I said, okay, by the time I get his age, I'm going to have my Ziploc bag too. Well, I guess I would if I would have continued following in the same path that he was going in. I didn't know that there was a different path. I didn't know that there was a cause that I had to ascertain. And then once you ascertain it, unhealthful conditions should be changed. Then you got to be ready to make some changes in your diet, in your health. Wrong habits corrected. You got to stop eating late at night, You got to stop going to bed late at night. I mean, we got to start correcting these wrong habits. Then nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. That's the last part. 2/3 of that is our part. That last part, which is 1/3, that's where your hydrotherapy comes in. That's where your herbs come in. And everybody wants herbs first, but they don't want to do the other things first. They just want herb, just like when you go to the doctor, you just want a drug, right? Just to stop the pain. You don't care about nothing else. You don't care about no side effects. You don't care about nothing. You just want a drug. Same thing. People, I get it all day long. People call me, what herb can I take for this? What herb can I take for that? But then I'm hearing that they got problems with their spouse. They mad at somebody, or they're this. They got some other issues that they got to deal with first. It's not so much about a herb. We have got to ascertain the cause. So what is high blood pressure? Well, high blood pressure is when the force of your blood flowing through your vessels is consistently too high. So nowadays they consider a high blood pressure reading to be 140/90 or higher. That's what's considered high these days. So you've got 3 parts when it comes to your blood pressure that you want to look at. You want to look at your systolic number. That's your top number. That's the pressure in your blood vessels when your heart is beating. You want to look at your diastolic number. That's the pressure in your blood vessels between beats when your heart is resting. And then you want to look at the pulse. So that's the numeric difference between your systolic and your diastolic numbers. So to survive and function properly, your tissues and organs need oxygenated blood that your circulatory system carries throughout the body. So when the heart beats, it creates pressure that pushes blood through a network of tube-shaped blood vessels which include your arteries, your veins, and your capillaries. So we need oxygenated blood, right? So over time, the force and friction, if you've got high blood pressure, it damages the delicate tissues inside the arteries. In turn, your LDL, or with your bad cholesterol, will form plaques along tiny tears in the artery walls, signifying the start of arteriosclerosis. So you see that? You see a normal artery? It's clear. And then the early signs that you've got some plaque starts to show up. And then you see in the one a significant arteriosclerosis. And then at the end, you could end up with a blood clot because your veins are really, really full of plaque. They're basically closed from that plaque. So the more the plaque and damage increases, the narrower or the smaller the inside of the arteries become, raising your blood pressure and starting a vicious cycle that further harms your arteries, heart, and the rest of your body. Now, you can also have something called secondary hypertension. And this is when your blood pressure is caused by an underlying condition, such as kidney problems or adrenal gland tumors, thyroid problems, or believe it or not, ladies, menopause. You can get high blood pressure from menopause. Doctors don't talk about it a lot because a lot of them don't associate the two together. They just don't. Now you have these doctors these days called functional medicine doctors. Have you all heard of them? Functional medicine doctors. They're actual doctors, but they ascertain the cause. They believe in natural remedies. So they understand that there is a correlation. There's a huge correlation between the two. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm going through right now. High blood pressure from menopause. It will cause it. It will, because your estrogen level drops dramatically. Basically, you don't have any. It drops. And what happens is estrogen is everything for ladies. I mean, we talked about it in class one day, last week, but it's everything. So estrogen is a protective mechanism for the heart. So a lot of ladies, when you see them 50, 60 years old, one of the first things I want to ask them is, have you gone through menopause? And they say, oh yeah, that was some time ago. But yet they got some problems with their bones, or they got some problems with their back or their joints. It's menopause. And I tell them, you need to take some estrogen. You need some estrogen to raise your estrogen up because your estrogen level is too low. And when it drops like that, then that drops your vitamin D, that drops your calcium level. It could drop your magnesium level. My magnesium level was pretty good. But one thing I do like to stress, but I like for ladies to do, men too, every at least 6 months to a year, get some blood work done. Get your blood work done and get a blood panel. And ladies, get a hormonal blood panel done in addition to your blood work, because you want to see where your hormones are. You want to see what's going on, because that's really, really important. So arteries carry oxygenated blood. So that carries blood that has gone to the heart and has been oxygenated and now is going out to the rest of your body so that it can help your body to do what it needs to do to give the body the cell and nutrients that it needs. Veins, so arteries go away from the heart, veins go to the heart, because veins carry deoxygenated blood that needs to be oxygenized and goes back to the heart for oxygenation. Clogged arteries. What are clogged arteries? Well, clogged arteries is also known as coronary artery disease. That develops when the major blood vessels that supply your heart with blood, oxygen, and nutrients become damaged or diseased. The main reason for coronary artery disease is high cholesterol in your arteries and inflammation. Those are usually the main causes. So, cholesterol is a type of fat that's found in your blood. Your body needs it. So, having some cholesterol is good. You do need some cholesterol because your body needs it to build cells and makes vitamins and other hormones. Your liver makes 75% of the cholesterol for your body. The other 25% comes from food you eat, like meat, fish, eggs, butter, cheese, right? All those things contain cholesterol. Fruits and vegetables and grains don't contain cholesterol. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So the more blood your heart pumps and the narrower your arteries become from cholesterol, the higher your blood pressure will be. And ladies, when it comes to menopause, because that estrogen drops and that vitamin D drops, your cholesterol is going to shoot up. My cholesterol, I went like within 3 months time of each other. And then the first time I went, my cholesterol, everything, it was fine. It was in range. 3 months later, I go, cholesterol's through the roof. Vitamin D is basically non-existent. I knew it was menopause. That's what I was going through. So I had to really, really start to take my vitamin D3. You want to take vitamin D3 with K2 because K2 gets it into the bones where it needs to go. So you really, really need that. And you want to take some form of estrogen supplement to really help your estrogen out. So what is cholesterol in foods? So cholesterol in foods, in most foods, you're going to look at your LDL. You're going to have your bad cholesterol, which is your low density lipoprotein. So lipoproteins they carry lipids or fats into the body, and they contain both lipids and proteins. So people get lipids from their diet. So a high lipoprotein level may mean that you are at risk for heart disease. The bad cholesterol, because it's collecting in the vessels of your walls of your arteries. So your HDL, which is your high density lipoprotein, this is called your good cholesterol. Why? Because it carries cholesterol from other parts of your body back to your liver, and then your liver removes it from your body. And you stop and think of how all these functions work in our bodies. We don't have to tell it to do it. If we just put in it what God told us to put in it, it'll do the rest. It'll run like a well-oiled machine. It will. We mess it up because we start to put things in it that we shouldn't. So let's look at trans fats. So trans fats are the worst type of fats that you can eat. They're also called trans fatty acids. They raise your bad cholesterol and they lower your good cholesterol. So a diet laden with trans fats increases the risk of heart disease. And heart disease is the leading killer of adults. And it's even the leading killer of Black adults. And we're going to talk about that. Most trans fats are formed through an industrial process that adds hydrogen to vegetable oil, which causes the oil to become solid at room temperature. So think about it. If it's becoming solid at room temperature and you're eating all these types of foods, you think it's not going to become solid in your body? Yeah, and it's going to clog you up. It's going to clog your arteries up. And that's why a lot of people die of heart attacks from eating those types of foods. So this partially hydrogenated oil is inexpensive and it's less likely to spoil. So foods made with it have a longer shelf life. Some restaurants use it because you don't have to change the oil as often. You see, so it's cheap, it's inexpensive, and they just use it. And when you go to these restaurants, if you are not back there watching what they're doing, you don't know what they're doing to your food. You don't know what you're eating. You don't. So what are some foods that contain trans fats? Well, just think of it as junk food. Fried foods, pizza, frozen foods, cakes, cookies, pies, margarine, non-dairy creamer, donuts, just all the stuff that we shouldn't be eating, right? That's not in Genesis 1:29, is it? We shouldn't be eating that. So what numbers are you looking for? Well, for your LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, you want it less than 100. That's optimal. But if it's between, 139, 159, you're borderline high. If it gets 160 or over, it's high. So the higher your HDL, the better it is for your health. So an HDL, which is your good cholesterol, 60 and above is optimal. Less than 40, in men and less than 50 in women is considered low. So my HDL was good, but it was my LDL and it was my cholesterol that was bad. So again, the average, you want your total cholesterol to be less than 200. I think mine was like 212. I never seen a cholesterol that high. My cholesterol has always been good and within range. So again, it gave me another clue that it was menopause. Borderline is 200, 239, and very high is 240 or above. So what are triglycerides? Well, triglycerides are a type of fat that's found in your blood. Now listen to this. When you eat, your body converts any calories it doesn't use right away into triglycerides. So it turns it into fat and it stores it. And then later, your hormones release this to give your body energy between meals. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just Genesis 2:7. It says, when the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a soul, a living soul, that was already taken care of in us. It was all we don't have to tell it what to do. So what's a high triglyceride level? 500 or higher is very high. 200 to 499 is high. Less than 150 is normal. So that's what you want to look at. So what are some high cholesterol foods you want to avoid? Well, you want to limit your saturated fats and oils, such as your butter, your bacon grease and all those things, chips and all those things. You want to limit all of that. Instead, you want to use plant-based oils such as olive, coconut, sunflower. And I'll tell you something about coconut. Coconut oil is 92% saturated fat. However, the saturated fats in coconut oil are different from those in animal fats because of their rich source of your MCTs. That's your medium chain triglycerides, right? And it helps to raise your HDL. So coconut oil contains 65% MCTs, and the MCTs go straight to your liver and it's processed so that your body may quickly use them. Even in that, you still want to be balanced. Because one of the things I started to think about when I saw my cholesterol level, even though I knew it was menopause, I said something else I think is playing a part in this. And I stopped and the Lord brought it to my mind, coconut oil. I use coconut oil. I used to, not anymore. I used to use it all the time. That was the only oil I used. Unbalanced. Unbalanced. Olive oil is your best oil. That's the oil you want to use first. You can use coconut oil sometimes, but you want to keep it balanced. You don't want to use a whole bunch of coconut oil either because it is a saturated fat. It is. And it can raise your cholesterol too. So, what are some sources of dietary cholesterol? Okay, so cholesterol is found only in animal foods. Nuts, grains, fruits, and vegetables don't contain cholesterol. So if they don't, and you don't have a secondary reason for your cholesterol level being high, then why do we, as plant-based people, have high cholesterol? Anybody got any idea? That could be a part of it. That's very good, young man. That's very good. That is a part of it. A vegan diet is a plant-based diet that is typically low in cholesterol. However, several vegan processed foods like your fake meats, right? Your meat analogs, your vegan cheeses are high in saturated fat from coconut or palm oil and sodium, like my young man said back there. These can raise your cholesterol levels. And we eat a lot of that. You know, we as people tend to eat ethnically, if you understand what I'm saying. If you're from Jamaica, even though now you may not eat Jamaican, some of the stuff you used to eat, but you still gonna eat ethnically. You still gonna find something that resembles it, right? If you're American, You may not eat the same meat that you used to eat, but you're going to still find your fake meat that resembles it, right? That's just how it is. We eat ethnically. We do. And we do it generationally, you know, because that's just, and we like to eat with a lot of salt because we like for our food to taste, good. But, white folk don't eat like that. They switch it up. They may eat Chinese one day. They may eat Mexican another day. They may eat, sushi another day. Um, but we gonna go to that same little, even if it's a vegan restaurant on the corner, every about 3 days out the week. That's where we gonna go. And when we go shopping, we gonna pull out the same meat analogs that we would buy. We eat ethnically, we do. And a lot of it is because we're just not educated. We don't teach classes. Like we're sitting here now in this setting and we're learning about high blood pressure. We don't teach classes to teach even about menopause. I talked about that in class. Nobody talks about that. My grandmother didn't talk about it. My mother didn't talk about it. Nobody talks about that. You don't hear things about that, but we need to be educated. But the white folk will talk about it. They'll sit down, they'll have classes on it. But we won't do that. I don't know why. I'm gonna see if this video will play. Let me see if I can get you. You may not be able to see it very well, but I think you'll be able to understand it. Hold on. Can y'all hear it? Wait a minute. Oh boy. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it back to play. And let me see if I can get it to play. Can I get a volume? Can y'all hear that? Not really. So this man, hold on. This man had to go to the emergency room, right? Because um, he was feeling some pain in his heart. So the doctor drew his blood. You can hear? Okay. So it's like yellow.
Creates changes in very dangerous. Over the years, arteries can become clogged with fatty material. Then a blood clot can form, blocking the blood flow completely. If the artery leads to the heart, the lack of oxygen can cause heart muscle to die. That's a heart attack. If the clogged artery leads to the brain, the patient has a stroke. The next morning, we took Mr. Phillips to the operating room, and I put him to sleep, and the surgeon opened up his chest. And from these arteries, he began pulling out yellow, greasy deposits of fatty material called atherosclerosis.
Flat.
If you...
So did you see that? So what did he say? What did he say? He had a cheeseburger. He had a milkshake. I mean, he had all these fatty, greasy foods, and that what was floating in his tube, in his test tube. And then when they took him to surgery, they pulled out all the fat from his body. So let's look at some statistics of high blood pressure. An estimated 1.28 billion adults aged 30 to 79 years old worldwide have hypertension. 1.28 billion. 2/3 living in low and middle income countries. According to the CDC, white adults had a significantly lower rate of hypertension than Black, Asian, or Hispanics. A greater percent of men, 50%, have high blood pressure than women, 44%. However, among women over 65, it's higher, and that's because of menopause. Worldwide, white adults had a significantly lower rate of hypertension than, again, Black, Asian, or Hispanics. In the US, about 77.9 million, 1 out of every 3 adults, have high blood pressure. That's why I said if you can go out here in this neighborhood and you knock on 1 out of every 3 doors, somebody in there or somebody in there they know is going to have high blood pressure. If that's all you do is just go around asking people and trying to help them with their high blood pressure, you're doing the work. Because eventually they're going to see if you can help them get their blood pressure down, what else can you help me with? Now they'll be more open to want to hear what you have to say. In 2021, hypertension was a primary or contributing cause of 691,095 deaths in the US. In the United States, heart disease is the #1 cause of death, and stroke is #5. Worldwide, raised blood pressure is estimated to cause 7.5 million deaths. That's about 12.8% of the total deaths. The number of people living with hypertension doubled between 1990 and 2019 from 650 million to 1.3 billion. Now, why do you think that is? I think it's because if you go in the grocery store, you see they always adding new foods, right, on the shelf. And everything you pick up, because I'm very conscious now about salt, and everything I pick up and you turn around and look at the label, it's full of sodium, full of sodium. I mean, a can of soup, and this was it was like Amy's soup. Now, normally I make my own soup, right? But I just didn't feel like it and I was tired, so I was looking for some soup. And so I turned the label over, and these Amy soups are plant-based soups, right? Soup had 900 milligrams of sodium in it. I said, what in the world? So they did have an alternative. She had low sodium. So I looked at her low sodium. Her low sodium was 210. Now, why would that be 900 versus 210? That's way too, and people don't think about it. And they just grabbing stuff off the shelf. And it's just full of salt. But that's what I look for. I look for something that's like 200 or less milligrams of salt in it. So across the income groups of countries, the prevalence of raised blood pressure was consistently high, with low to lower middle and upper middle countries all having rates of around 40%. The prevalence in high countries was lower at about, in high income countries, was lower at about 35%. So you see people that have a higher income bracket, they don't have, the percentage rate is not as high for hypertension as it is with low and lower middle income families. Because think about this, and you all know it from around here, and I everywhere I go, especially if I am driving somewhere, and if I want something, if I don't have it with me, or if I've eaten what I've got and I'm looking for something else, I always look at the demographics that's around me. I always look at the vehicles. If I see Mercedes and Jaguars and BMWs, I say it's got to be a Whole Foods or Trader Joe's somewhere around here. And 9 times out of 10, it is. I just need to find out where it is. But in the Black neighborhoods, you got Church's Chicken, you got KFC, you got Popeyes, right? And then on the corner over here, you got the church. That's how it is. And then you got the grocery stores that's run down. It's not nice grocery stores, Piggly Wiggly, right? And you walk in and it smells like a Piggly Wiggly. It smells horrible because it's that rotten meat that's back there that they put Clorox on or whatever they put on it. They try to make it look fresh for you. But it's demographics. Hispanic communities, Hispanic populations are likely to have high blood pressure due to higher rates of obesity and diabetes. So high blood pressure is the number 2 cause of kidney failure. And this is when we were talking about Hispanics. It causes about 1 out of 4 cases, 25% in the United States. High blood pressure is also a serious problem for Hispanics. Hispanics get high blood pressure more often, 1 in every 4, which we were just talking about. Kidney disease risk among Native Americans. Native Americans have a problem with alcohol. So they got problems with kidney disease. They are more at risk for kidney failure than some other races. And they're twice as likely to get kidney failure as whites. So although this study said they were not exactly sure why Native Americans are more at risk, but diabetes and high blood pressure and access to health care plays a big part. So diabetes is the number 1 cause of kidney failure in Native Americans. So blood pressure in your kidneys. So high blood pressure can constrict or narrow the blood vessels. The kidneys, which have tiny filtering units on them called glomeruli at the end, they help to filter your blood, right? So this, if your blood vessels are narrow, this narrowing reduces the blood flow. And as a result, the kidneys may stop removing waste and extra fluid from your blood. And that extra fluid in your blood vessels may build up, and that can raise your blood pressure. So what are some causes of high blood pressure? Well, excessive consumption of alcohol, stress, and we talked about stress last week, right? Smoking, chewing tobacco, sedentary lifestyle, obesity, excess intake of salt, race, age, gender, lack of sufficient sleep. What are some symptoms of high blood pressure? Chest pain, shortness of breath, blurry vision, headaches, nosebleeds, severe headaches, fatigue or confusion, chest pain, difficulty breathing, blood in your urine, pounding in your chest, neck, or ears. What are some conditions of having high blood pressure? You can have a heart attack or a stroke, right? Hardening and thickening of your arteries due to that pressure being too high. You can have an aneurysm, increased blood pressure to the brain even. Heart failure. When you have high blood pressure, the heart has to work harder and to pump blood. The strain causes the walls of the heart pumping chamber to thicken. And again, we talked about kidney problems. Eye problems, changes with memory. Uncontrolled high blood pressure may affect the ability to think, remember, and learn. Dementia, even. What are some contributing factors? Race. High rates of high blood pressure in African Americans may be due to the genetic makeup of people of African descent. In the US, Blacks respond differently to high blood pressure drugs than do other groups. Blacks in the US also seem to be more sensitive to salt, which increases the risk of developing high blood pressure. The slavery hypertension hypothesis. Can I get the mic to come back, because I'm about to play another video? States that the higher prevalence of hypertension among Blacks could have resulted from an enhanced ability to conserve salt by the slaves, protecting them from fatal salt depletive diseases during the stormy Atlantic Passage. Think about this. I'm going to play this. Think about this. If you were in your country, right, in Africa, and you just got people coming to gather you up, right, and they throwing you on the ship, They're tossing you on the chip, right? You don't know where your mother is. You don't know where your father is. You don't know where your husband is. You don't know where your children are. But they're about to take you someplace. You don't know where you're going. You've been sold, and now you're sitting there shackled and chained. Can you imagine what's going through somebody's brain like that? And the ones that survived, they held on to the thought that they had, right? Because that's what kept them alive. Something made. You don't know where to go. But now you've developed this condition of your body being sensitive to salt. Because you had to conserve your body's going to do that safe, right? It's going to raise your sodium level to try to say, because now you're in this, remember we talked about stress. You're in this fight or flight state. And so now you don't know what's going to happen to you. You don't know where your children are. And it's finished and it's built on that ship. Because some of your relatives have died, right? On this voyage that took months to get to wherever they were dropping you off to. Some of us were dropped off to Jamaica. Some of us were dropped off to the Bahamas. Some of us were dropped off to Barbados. Some of us were dropped off to the US, but not with our family. The ones that survived. And now you and your generations are sensitive to salt. Think about that. American slavery ended more than a century and a half ago. While the physical manifestations of slavery are for the most part buried, I believe the psychological damage has been passed through the generations and still exists today. To date, there have been few studies conducted to assess the impact of the traumas associated with the slavery of Americans or the generations that followed them. African Americans' susceptibility to salt, which is called salt sensitivity. The prevalence of high blood pressure among Black people in the United States is the highest in the world. In the world. About 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. Black people also have high rates of severe high blood pressure, and it develops earlier in life. As little as 1 gram of salt, the amount in half a teaspoon of table salt, or 1,000 milligrams in 1 serving of some processed foods, could raise your blood pressure as much as 5 millimeters of mercury in people who have, they say, the gene sensitive to salt. Now, your average amount of salt is supposed to be, they say, around 2,300 milligrams a day, which is about a teaspoon. But if you can get it to 1,500 or less, that's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. The average person eats about 3,500 or more milligrams of salt a day, which is about 1.5 to about 2 teaspoons of salt. That's too much salt. I want to go to this one. No. Yes. So why is hypertension more common in African Americans? Well, there was a study done in Detroit in the 1970s. And this man showed that blood pressure in African Americans living in the what? Inner city was highest in people living in the worst off neighborhoods. Now, if you know anything about big cities, and I don't live in a big city, but I've been to some big cities, and I know I've been to cities like Washington, D.C. and Maryland and Virginia and all in that area. You will notice that the traffic is worse going into the city because you got all the people that live in the suburbs coming in to work in the city. And then at the end of the day, you see the traffic is worse going out of the city because they leaving. They don't live there. They live out in the suburbs. Now, one thing I noticed that's starting to happen, I've been noticing it probably for the last 5 or 6 years, is what they're doing in a lot of these neighborhoods is where there's a university. Most of the time, those were places where the black people live in the what do you call them, the projects, right? They tear, they are tearing those down, and they're putting in nice houses because these are where your professors are living that work at the universities, or if it's near a beach or near a nice area, they're tearing those projects down, moving the people out, and the white folks moving in. And they got nice townhomes, nice homes. I see it in every city I go to. Every city. That's what's happening. That's your family today. Marriage rates are declining in many regions. Adults are most likely to be married in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and South America, and are least likely to be married in Europe and North America. How the welfare state has devastated African Americans. The rise of the welfare state in the 1960s contributed greatly to the demise of the Black family as a stable institution. The out-of-wedlock birth rate among African Americans today is 73%, 3 times higher than it was prior to, y'all remember that war on poverty? They always come up with these names, don't they? The war on poverty. It makes you think they're really doing something, right? And that's true, because if you think about it, I remember my grandmother. I don't think she was talking to me. I think she was talking to somebody else. But my grandmother died. She died a couple of years ago. She was 95 years old, right? And I remember her saying, she was talking to somebody else. I can't remember who she was talking to, but she said, yeah, because he was born out of wedlock. And she said it like quietly. They didn't talk about that. That didn't happen then. You know, today now it's, yeah, I don't know where my baby dad is. You know what I'm saying? It's no big deal. It's no big deal. But it was something back then. You just didn't talk about that. That's just not something that you talked about. So children raised in fatherless homes are far more likely to grow up poor and to eventually engage in criminal behavior than their peers who are raised in two-parent homes. In 2010, Blacks, approximately 30% of the US population, accounted for 48.7% of all arrests for homicide. That's huge. 31% for forcible rape, 33% for aggravated assault, 55% for robbery. That's high. There was something called the Great Migration that happened from 1916 to 1970. This was when more than 6 million African Americans relocated from the rural South to cities in the North. There was 3 phases of this that happened. The first was from 1916 to 1940. This was about 1.6 million people moved from mostly rural areas in the South to southern industrial cities. I know my family did. My family is from the South. I'm from South Carolina, Confederate to the hilt. Okay, that's just what it is. But I noticed that a lot of my mother's uncles and aunts and cousins, even though they were raised in the South, they moved north. They moved to places like New York. And they stayed there their whole time that they were working. And then when they retired, they came back to the South. But they lived in the North. The second migration was from 1940 to 1970, which began with the Great Depression and brought at least 5 million people. So the first one you had about 1.6. The second one, now you got 5 million. And they moved into the cities of New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, St. Louis, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis. So the second one, where you had more cities, they moved into Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. And the primary factors for migration among Southern African Americans was what? Segregation. An increase in the spread of racist ideology, widespread lynching. Nearly 3,500 African Americans were lynched between 1882 and 1968. So across the nation, there are over 2 million residents living in public housing and another 4.7 million living in Section 8 housing. So that's where a lot of the people live in the inner cities. And, you know, the children can't go outside and really play in the yard. You got asphalt. You know what I mean? You playing on the basketball court. That's not really, you know, good for your children. So you have physical slavery, and now we got mental slavery. More than 1 in every 5 of the 42.8 Americans who identify as Black live below the poverty line, compared to less than 1 in every 10 white Americans. African American poverty rate, 20.8% in 2018. The white poverty rate was 8.1% in 2018. That's a big difference. The life expectancy. So today, Asian Americans live the longest, 87.1 years. Latinos, 83.3, whites, 78.9, Native Americans, 76.9, and African Americans, 75.4. You know, in all my research that I do, we lead the pack in everything. We lead the pack in heart disease. We lead the pack in diabetes, high blood pressure, everything. We lead the pack. And a lot of it is due to our diet and lifestyle. And I think a lot of it is because we're not educated. We haven't been educated. I'm going to skip some of this. All right, we can talk about salt a little bit. My brother back there talked about salt. So how much sodium should you eat per day? Again, about 1,500 milligrams of sodium equals about 3/4 teaspoons or 1.5 grams of salt per day, while 2,300 milligrams equals about 1 teaspoon or 2.3. And so we should eat less than a teaspoon of salt per day. But if you're eating something that's processed, you probably ate more than what you need for the whole day, and just that one processed food that you ate. Try it. Try to go in the stores, and when you pick up something, turn it over and see how many milligrams of salt in it. It's going to be full of salt. Most people today are eating much more than the average intake. Most people today are eating 35 to 3,400 milligrams of salt per day, and that's mostly coming from processed foods. So having a particular gene, this was a study that was done that was saying having a particular gene may make African Americans more sensitive to salt, thereby increasing their risk of developing high blood pressure. And again, that's that salt sensitivity. And I do believe that some of that came from our ancestors from their voyage over here. African Americans' susceptibility to salt, which is called salt sensitivity, so as little as 1 gram of salt, an amount of half a teaspoon of table salt, or 1,000 milligrams in processed food, again, could raise someone who has sensitivity to salt as much as 5 millimeters of mercury higher. Non-Hispanic Blacks retain more sodium. They have more salt sensitivity, lower plasma renin activity, higher aldosterone levels, because aldosterone is a hormone that is produced in your kidneys. So it's really a part of your endocrine system, but it's part of a system called RAS. It's called renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. What that whole system does is supposed to help your body retain salt. So if someone has low blood pressure, then to keep that person from dying, it'll retain that salt. It'll hold that salt. That's what that's supposed to do. But if you got high blood pressure, it can do the same thing. And it can retain that salt. And that's that system that I was telling you about. So what are some risk factors for African American? Increased age, excess weight, if we're overweight, having a family of high blood pressure, or so a family history of it, having diabetes, inactivity, high dietary salt and fat intake, low intake of potassium, smoking. Look at this, a can of soup, that's what I was telling you about earlier, right? Contains 800 or more milligrams of sodium. And the one I saw was 900. It was 9, and that's supposed to be the good soup, the Amy soup, that's the vegan soup. And it had 900 milligrams of sodium. Deli meats, 700 milligrams of sodium. One hot dog can contain 700 milligrams of sodium, while one slice of regular deli ham can have over 300 milligrams of sodium. The average order of fish and chips contains what? 1,250 milligrams of sodium. That's for an order that includes one piece of deep fried fish and one serving of chips or fries. That's all you get. And you got 1,200 milligrams. That is way more than your average daily. I mean, if you eat that, what else? You can't really eat too much more the rest of the day. Your breakfast cereal, your wheat checks, that's about 357 milligrams. Rice Krispies, 174. Corn Flakes, 204. V8, one can of V8 is 600 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot. Ketchup has about 150 milligrams of sodium. Soy sauce contains a whopping 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot. Frozen foods, 1,800 milligrams of sodium. Potato chips, unflavored, 175 to 185. Sour cream and onion, at 185 to 205. Barbecue. Now you see when you add more flavor to it, because they got to add more salt to it, right? That number keeps going up. Nearly 215. Spaghetti sauce. Some spaghetti sauce could have at least 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's what I'm telling you. Everything you buy in the store, I have learned to read labels. You have got to turn that label over, and you got to read it, because you'll be surprised what's in it. Cheese, 400 milligrams of sodium. Even that vegan cheese, y'all better check that vegan cheese and see what the sodium content that's in that stuff. That stuff is high. Now, of course, we know our soul food, right? I didn't even put a number to it, because you know it's high. You know it's going to be high. Barbecue ribs, right? You know it's high. So what are some things we can do to try to bring this hypertension down? Eat a heart-healthy diet. Add more good fats. Good fats are also called unsaturated fats. Cut sources of saturated fat out, like your fatty meats, your dairy. Increase your fiber intake. Cut back on your sugar. Here's another thing you can use, hawthorn berries. Hawthorn berries have been used for centuries as an herbal remedy for digestive problems, heart failure, high blood pressure. It's a rich source of polyphenols. Those are plant-based antioxidants, powerful antioxidants, which helps to neutralize those free radicals, which can harm your bodies. When you think of antioxidants, just think of against oxidation. It keeps your cells from oxidizing. It keeps it from dying faster. They contain anti-inflammatory properties. They help to lower your blood pressure. They help to aid in digestion. They help to reduce anxiety. They help with heart failure. CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant that your body produces naturally. It protects the cells from damage, plays an important part in the metabolism, improves your heart health and blood sugar levels. Levels of CoQ10 decrease in your body as you age. I noticed that a lot of things I was reading, a lot of things in our bodies decrease as we age, like estrogen and a lot of other things in our bodies. So we have to be proactive. The older we get, the more proactive we should be with our health and really paying attention of what we're putting into our bodies. But CoQ10 is also found in a lot of foods you eat, like extra virgin olive oil, walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds, sesame seeds, broccoli, tofu, parsley, soybeans. 7 incredible health benefits of CoQ10. Helps to improve your cardiovascular function, boosts your energy and stamina, supports your cognitive function, fights free radical damage, supports healthy vision and hearing, improves overall health, promotes smooth supply age-defying skin. Beta blockers. What are beta blockers? Beta blockers are, when they give you beta blockers in the hospital, in the doctor's office, these are medications that help to reduce your blood pressure. They work by blocking the effects of a hormone, epinephrine, as well as adrenaline. And they lower the heart rate and they widen the blood vessels. Beta blockers cause your heart to beat more slowly and with less force, which lowers your blood pressure. So what are some natural beta blockers? Olives, olive oil, avocado oil, garlic, whole grain bread, nuts and seeds. Of course, your berries, your fruits and veggies, your leafy vegetables, bananas and potatoes that contain potassium and then magnesium. So let's look at blood circulation. So many people suffer the effects of poor circulation. So if you often experience cold hands or feet, you may be among them. Not only can this be uncomfortable, but it can negatively impact your health. So for example, your cognitive function can decline if your brain is receiving an inadequate blood supply. So improving your blood circulation can help fight against heart attacks and strokes. So you don't want to be so sedentary. You want to get out, exercise. I say if you can only go to the mailbox and back day one, good. Next day, you might be able to go a little to the street and back. But you will find that the more you move, the more you will be able to go. And if someone is sick, if they can walk 5 miles a day, they will walk cancer right out of their body. You can. Along with, doing other healthy things. You're not continuing the same diet and lifestyle. So the blood serves a number of different purposes. First, it provides oxygen and nutrients to every cell of your body. Second, it helps to balance your body temperature and provides warmth to your fingers, your toes, your nose. Proper circulation also ensures that fluids are removed that otherwise might result in edema or swelling. So what are some foods that can increase your blood circulation? Notice I'm giving you a lot of foods. You can take supplements, but if you get it in your diet, the body will use what it needs to use and it'll excrete what it doesn't need to use. So you don't have to worry about getting too much or not enough of something because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Vitamin E, sunflower oil, vitamin B3, niacin. Niacin is great for the blood circulation. Now you can get the no flush kind because if you get niacin, it's going to make you itch and it's going to make you feel like your face is on fire, like you're burning. I know it makes my arms itch, but it only lasts for a minute and then it's gone. But it's great for circulation. Iron, spinach, kale, turmeric, ginger, rosemary, piperine. I like to use piperine because piperine, especially if I'm giving someone, let's say, an estrogen blocker, or if I'm giving them an herbal chemo, I like for them to use piperine with it because it makes it more bioavailable in the system, okay? So it'll really get more into the system if you use piperine. It's an extract of black pepper. Vasodilators. So what are vasodilators? Vasodilators are medications that open or dilate your blood vessels. They affect the muscles in the walls of your arteries and veins, preventing the muscles from tightening and the walls from narrowing. As a result, blood flows more easily through your blood vessels. So what are some natural vasodilators? Cayenne pepper, ginger. Again, we got niacin, garlic, onions, rosemary, bilberry, mixed berries, whole grains, spinach, celery. Grapefruit, to lower your cholesterol. If your cholesterol is high, eat 2 grapefruits a day for 21 days. It will lower your cholesterol. It's wonderful. Now, if you're on blood pressure medication, you can't do it because when it mixes, it'll actually make it go higher. Okay. So, but if you're on just taking something natural, you'll be fine. And eating 2 grapefruits a day, it really does help to lower your cholesterol for 21 days. So eating 2 grapefruits a day drop cholesterol levels by as much as 19% and improve the ratio of good to bad cholesterol. But again, if you're taking medications for it, don't eat the grapefruit. Grapefruit and grapefruit juice can interfere with how your body absorbs certain blood pressure medications. And this can lead to too much or too little of the drug in your blood, causing fluctuation. So you don't want to do it with medication. Fruit fast. You can go on a melon fast for 3 days. You can eat grapes for a meal for 3 days. That does work. I have done that, and it does work. It really does. Any kind of melons will do it. Bowel cleanser. You need to take a bowel cleanser. I always put a bowel cleanser on the protocol because people say, "Well, I'm not constipated." I'm not giving it to you because you're constipated. I'm giving it to you to help to get toxins out of your body because you want to detox as well as put good nutrients back into the body at the same time. And so, bowel cleanser is a good way to do it. So and the easiest one to do is just take a tablespoon of psyllium husk powder twice a day and take like 3 center capsules every other day. You don't want to take them every day because they will really, they're a stimulant and they will make you go to the bathroom and you can end up with diarrhea. So you don't want to take it every day. So what are some other ways to lower your blood pressure? Garlic enema. You can do a garlic enema. It will. Take a whole bulb of garlic and put it in a Vitamix and just put it, you don't have to fill it all the way up, probably half the way even. And just blend that up and then strain it. And then put it in one of those little Fleet enema bottles, okay? And you want to, because those will hold about 4 ounces. And you want to do that about 2 to 3 times a day. Now, the first time you may not be able to hold it. And I'm going to tell you, because it's a retention enema. You're supposed to try to hold it for at least 5 minutes, but I tell you what, it burns because it's garlic. I'm going to tell you it burns. But the more you do it, the more you can hold it. It's just like with a coffee enema. If you do a coffee enema the first time, you might not be able to hold it too long. But the more you do it, before you know it, you can hold, 15 ounces of coffee. And a coffee enema, you want to retain that for at least 15 minutes because your blood in your body will pass through your blood will pass through your liver and your body every 5 minutes. So if you can lay on your right side and you can lay there for 15 minutes, you're going to get 3 passes going through your blood to help to clean that blood. That's what coffee enemas do. They help to clean that liver, which is going to help to clean your blood. And the life of the flesh is where? It's in the blood. So we got to keep the blood clean. You can drink garlic or tomato juice. You want to blend 3 bulbs of garlic and a pint of tomato juice, unsalted tomato juice, okay? 3 ounces of beet juice, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and 3 ounces of celery juice. You freeze and you take that out and eat it as an icy 2 to 3 times a day. But again, the tomato juice must not have salt in it, okay? But that's something else that you can do. You can drink garlic water. You can blend a bulb of garlic in a quart of water. You can strain. You can drink 2 ounces 3 times a day. And that's good too. That will help to lower your blood pressure. So this is just a recipe that I had to help to lower the blood pressure. And then I want to talk about, let's see where we are. I think I want to talk about, let's see this. Okay, y'all finished with that? Water. We know water is good for us to drink, right? Being dehydrated. So what is dehydration? Dehydration occurs when the amount of water leaving the body is greater than the amount being taken in. We lose water routinely when we breathe and humidified air leaves the body. This can be seen on a cold day when you can see your breath in the air, which is just water that has been exhaled. When we sweat to cool the body, when we eliminate waste by urinating or having a bowel movement. Remember, you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water every day. and you cannot make up for it the next day. So you need that amount that day because that's what your body needs to function. Water is a critical element of the body, and keeping the body adequately hydrated is a must to allow the body to function. Up to 60% of your body's weight is made of water. So your brain consists of 90% of water. So your brain is going to get the water first. So if you're dehydrated and you're not drinking water and you feel some tingling in your legs or in your arms, it's because your lower extremities going to get it last. Your brain is going to get it first. Your bones consist of 22% water. Water protects and moistens our joints. Your blood consists of 83% water. Your muscles, 73% of water. All right? So water is God's beverage. In health and in sickness, pure water is one of heaven's choicest blessings. Its proper use promotes health. It is the beverage which God has provided to quench the thirst of animals and man. Drunk freely, it helps to supply the necessities of the system and does what? Assist nature. Remember that quote we read earlier? We got to assist nature to resist disease. So low blood pressure is when your blood pressure reading is lower than 90/60, and dehydration can cause low blood pressure due to a decrease in blood volume. When you're dehydrated, your blood volume can decrease, leading to a drop in your blood pressure. So ADH is an antidiuretic hormone, okay? And this is a hormone that's made by the hypothalamus in the brain and is stored in the posterior pituitary. And it tells your kidneys how much water to conserve. You don't tell your kidneys how much water to conserve. Your brain does. Dehydration causes the hypothalamus to release. So if you're dehydrated, it's gonna, your hypothalamus, think of it as your control center, okay? And it speaks to your pituitary. This is part of your endocrine system. And then your pituitary is going to speak to your thyroid or your parathyroid. And it's going to speak to your adrenals, to your kidneys, to your ovaries, to men, to their testes. That's how it works. So the hypothalamus, when the body senses that a person is dehydrated, it's going to release ADH. It's going to tell the pituitary to release ADH. And the ADH, the pituitary is going to release it, and the ADH is going to tell the kidneys to retain some water, to recover water from urine. Isn't that something? That how that system, it just, and we got plenty of systems in our bodies that do this. ADH consistently regulates and balances the amount of water in your blood. Higher water concentration increases the volume and pressure of your blood. When someone drinks lots of water, requirement of absorption of water decreases, so ADH is what? Suppressed. Body says, okay, it's giving me the water that I need, we can stop. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Most people sweat out about 2 cups of water a day. Each day, we also lose a little more than a cup of water when we exhale it. We eliminate about 6 cups of it. We also lose electrolytes. Those are minerals like sodium, potassium that regulate the body's fluids. Females, we also lose additional water through vaginal discharge, approximately 50 milliliters a day. So how can we regain it? Well, we get about 20% of the water we need from eating foods like watermelon. Given so much water is lost from the body every day, it's vital that water is constantly replenished. Like I said, that's why you have to drink that amount every day. If you don't consume as much water as you lose daily, your body will inevitably fail performing optimally. That means it's going to fail to perform at an optimal level. If you add external stresses such as warm weather, sicknesses that occur, or stresses such as insufficient sleep, your body needs to work so much harder to compensate for these things. So without the proper intake of water, these stresses, they can also create other health problems. So you see your foods that are high in water content, berries, look at your blueberries, 95%. I'm going to say that's celery because I know celery is big on water content. 95% cantaloupes, your grapefruit, your pears, your watermelon, 96% contains water. So water is critical for your heart health. Your heart is constantly working, pumping about 2,000 gallons of blood a day. That's a lot of blood. By staying hydrated, that is, by drinking more water than you are losing, you are helping your heart to do its job. So you see how we got to help the body? We got to assist the body. Should I drink water with meals? You should almost never drink water or fluids with meals. Drinking water shortly before or with meals dilutes and weakens your stomach acids. Now, you can drink it about 30 minutes before. Once your stomach acid is diluted, it may not be able to turn on enzymes. So you're going to dilute your enzymes that help your body to break down the food. So keep in mind that drinking other fluids shortly before with your meals can also alter the stomach acid necessary to turn on your digestive enzymes. Again, how much water should we drink? Half your body weight in ounces, and then you can take that number and divide it by 8, and that'll tell you how many cups of water you should drink. So what does drinking water do? It helps to detoxify the liver. It helps with urination. Look at this. If you didn't have kidneys, you would need 800 glasses of water a day to filter the toxins that your kidneys filter, which is 8 glasses. Our kidneys are workers. And I did a program earlier on kidneys, but our kidneys are some workers. But you see how much water you would need? It provides water provides for perspiration. It aids in lung respiration. It helps with circulation of the blood and the lymph system. So how do we know what are the proper foods that we should eat? Well, in order to know what are the best foods, we must study God's original plan for man's diet. He who created man, who understands his needs, appointed Adam his food. Grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables constitute the diet chosen for us by our Creator. These foods, prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible, are the most healthful and nourishing. They impart a strength, a power of endurance, and a vigor of intellect that are not afforded by a more complex and stimulating diet. So our diet should be low salt, low sodium, green leafy vegetables, fruits, grains, water, and exercise. So now we talked about high blood pressure and we talked about the heart, right? In a physical sense. Now let's talk about it in a spiritual sense. How are our hearts spiritually? So if our hearts, if we're doing everything that we're supposed to do physically to keep our hearts healthy, but spiritually we're not. What if we got some issues with some people? What if we're upset with some people? Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Right? Matthew 12:34 says, O generation of vipers, how can ye being evil speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the what? The mouth speaks. So what's in you is what's going to come out of you. Luke 6:45 says, a good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringing forth that which is evil. For the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. So if we are medical missionaries and we're going around and we're telling people how to have good health, how to have good heart health, but what about spiritual heart health anyway? I'm going to tell you, children can pick up on it. People will pick up on it real easy. Listen to this quote. The relation which exists between the mind and the body is very intimate. When one is affected, the other sympathizes. The condition of the mind affects the health of the physical system. And the mind and the heart go together. If the mind is free and happy from a consciousness of right doing, and a sense of satisfaction in causing happiness to others, it creates a cheerfulness that will react upon the whole system, causing a freer circulation of the blood. So it does something physically, doesn't it? And a toning up of the entire body. The blessing of God is a healing power. And those who are abundant in benefiting others will realize that wondrous blessing in both heart and health. He whose heart God touches is filled with a great love for those who have never heard the truth. Their condition impresses him with a sense of personal woe. Taking his life in his hand, he hurries away, a God sent, God inspired messenger, to do a work in which angels can cooperate. I can see in the Lord's providences that the medical missionary work is to be a great entering wedge whereby the diseased soul may reach. That's what we're after. That's what we're after. God just uses the health message as an avenue to get there. But that's what he's after. The work of the true medical missionary is largely a what kind of work? It's a spiritual work. It includes prayer and the laying on of hands. He therefore should be as sacredly set apart for his work as is the minister of the gospel. It's important. You got to be set aside to do this work. Those who are selected to act the part of missionary physicians are to be set apart as such. This will strengthen them against the temptations to withdraw from the sanitarium work to engage in private practice, because there's no money in the sanitarium work. You come to do this for money, you might as well forget about it. There is none. But I tell you what, God will take care of you. He all of your needs will be met. And then some of your wants. Like me wanting to go to Switzerland. He met it. No selfish motive should be allowed to draw the worker from his post of duty. The medical work done in connection with giving of the what? Those two go together. Those two go together. Is to accomplish wonderful results. It is to be a sanctifying, unifying work, corresponding to the work which the great head of the church has sent forth the first disciples to do. And I think I'm going to read one more, and then I think I will stop. So long as men represent the pure principles of his government, he will continue to bless and maintain them as his instruments to carry out his purposes concerning his people. God does the work. He just needs vessels, willing vessels. He cooperates with those who cooperate with him. And I'll say this last statement and I'll stop. I remember my late husband used to always say, he just needs our cooperation. That's all he needs. He needs willing vessels that will cooperate. All right? So right there, I will stop. And I will ask my dear sister Shirlene to come up here with me, and we're gonna see if we can answer any questions anyone may have. Any questions? Come on, Shirlene. Any questions anyone may have? Someone got a mic for her? Yo, grab that. I think you can grab that one right there, Shirley. Oh, this ain't mine. Okay. So I hope y'all learned. Oh, it's not on. Okay. Test this. Can y'all hear? Okay. So I hope that y'all learned a little bit about, blood pressure and health, and especially Black people and our health and Hispanics. And I hope y'all learned something. And then about spiritual health, right? Our hearts. Because our hearts are deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know them? So if anyone has any questions, we will do our best I tell you, I don't know everything because I haven't been doing this for 15 years like Mr. Wilson. But what I don't know, I'll tell you, I'll get back with you and I'll find out because I love the research. All right. Any question?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned something about menopause and um, high blood pressure. How do you actually get the natural estrogen?
You can. Okay. She asked.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. She asked, how do you get natural estrogen? Well, you have to eat more estrogenic foods, like your tofu. I'm gonna tell you a big one. Sea moss gel. Sea moss gel has 92 of the 102 essential vitamins and minerals that our bodies need. It is very good. Um, I'm trying to think of some other foods. Can you think of some other foods real quick that you can eat? Because I know there's another one I had on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. Um, oh, you can use, oh, but you were saying through foods, right? Kind of, yeah. But you know, you can also get it through herbs. You know, you can use things like chase tree, chase tree berry, which is vitamins berry, same thing. Yeah, chase tree berry. That's an herb that you can get it through. Black cohosh is another one. Try Don Qua. Have you tried Don Qua? Okay. You might need to be more on the food side to see. Now, what you can do too is sometimes you can mix up those things and you can make a suppository. And you can, yeah, you can mix those same herbs up in some coconut oil and you can make a suppository and insert it because it'll get there, you know, directly more so that way. You also need some progesterone cream. You need progesterone
And
cream
a
to
wild
balance
yam.
the estrogen.
And a wild yam.
And wild yam. And I put wild yam. I do because you know what? I got tired of going to the store and buying progesterone cream, so I made my own. And I put wild yam in it. So yes, you do need that. But you need foods like you know your soy-based foods. Vegetables are always good. You know your leafy vegetables are always good. You need your D3 and your K2. You need that as well. Any other? You got some, Shirley? You want to add a couple other things?
That's good.
Okay.
All right, I have a question online.
Okay.
It says, I've heard it said that olive oil has a low heat index and we shouldn't use it to fry food. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. You don't want to fry your foods in any cook your foods in any oil. No oil. You want to cook your food in water. And then after it, you take it, you know, out of the oven or whatever you have it cooking on. You can drizzle some olive oil on it after you have taken it out and it's cooled down some. You can do that. But no, you don't want to fry your foods in oil or cook your foods in oil. Yes, ma'am.
Vitamin K. Which food do we get that from?
Vitamin K, that is your potassium. Bananas are very good a source. Of course, your berries, your green leafy vegetables. Your green leafy vegetables are huge. You really need your cruciferous vegetables. You do.
Okay, and regard to estrogen, I think it was a few years back, it was floating around that too much estrogen is not good for women because it produces fibroids. I don't know if you've heard of that. So now I'm hearing that women of a certain age who is going through menopause should take in a lot of estrogen. And I heard that too much soy, tofu, and soy milk is not good for women of a certain age. So, I mean, it's like you're hearing one thing and then you're hearing another thing. So please explain that.
I'm gonna let Shirley explain that.
The thing is, you can have estrogen, what we call estrogen dominance, which is an imbalance in the estrogen in your body. But not because you heard it say that it's not good or it's good that you should use it. You have to have an assessment of the needs of your body. And then you supply those needs with food, basically, and outside of food, then some supplements. Some people would need supplements in order to take care of the needs of their bodies. But basically, we get our nutrients from our foods.
Yep.
Estrogen natural. Yeah.
Yes,
Does our body produces estrogen naturally?
yes, it does.
So if that is the case, why should we take more estrogen?
That is why I said you need to have an assessment to see if you have a need for estrogen. There's some women, as Tanya mentioned earlier, in their menopausal years, because in menopause, estradiol
That's right.
is the main estrogen during your reproductive years. As you go into menopause, the type of estrogen changes to estrone,
Mm-hmm.
which is a weaker form of estrogen. And that is why we at menopausal age will have lower estrogen. Now, if it's too low, and the estrogen and progesterone work together in the body. So if estrogen is too low, you can have issues. So that's why I said you need to have an assessment done to see if you have need of estrogen, and then you boost your estrogen. But if you eat your normal foods, balanced diet, your leafy vegetables, your cruciferous vegetables, your fruits, your grains, and your nuts, the food that God has prescribed for us, then we should have the nutrients that our body needs.
Women, I've heard that African American women, they have a problem with fibroids than people of other ethnic makeup. So with what causes is it hereditary, or is it the food that we eat that causes fibroids? Because a lot of Black women suffer from that fibroids. And again, we hear don't estrogen. So answer that.
That's a high estrogen condition. So we need to balance the estrogen in the body in order to take care of the fibroids.
Because see, one is high estrogen and one is low estrogen. Menopause is low estrogen. Fibroids is high estrogen, which I'm going to talk about during our class this week. You should come to the class. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about fibroids because, like Sister Shirley was saying, what you need to do, and I'm big on this, get a hormonal panel done. You need to see where your hormones are, because you could have more estrogen than you think you might be having when you're in menopausal years. So you need to see where it is to know everything in the body has to be balanced. So you got to make sure that you're balancing it. You don't want to get too much, or you don't want to get enough, or too little, right? You want to get just enough. So you need to have it checked out. I am big on blood work. I am.
Yeah, it's necessary to have your blood work. Have your blood work done so you know exactly where you are in your health, and to know what type of supplements, if any, you would need.
That's right.
You know, while I was here just now, somebody called me. Somebody told them to take something, and they took it, and they have this reaction, and asking me what they can do. See, not everything people say you should do,
That's right,
you need to do. Your body may not need it.
and that's another thing. That's right. Everybody's body is different.
It's okay. It's okay.
So we're not going to always all need the same thing.
There's a hand at the back.
Yes. What is the cause of cyst in the kidneys, and what is the treatment for it?
Cyst in the kidneys. I'm not exactly sure, but what I think it may be, now it could be from dehydration. It could be that the person may not be, drinking enough water, but it also could be coming from like too much oxalates in the body. Oxalates are they bind with calcium, and they're supposed to go leave the body together, but they don't. And when you don't have enough calcium in the body for it to do that, that's what forms kidney stones. I know that's what forms kidney stones because I had them. So I know about kidney stones, but I'm not sure about the cyst. Do you know about the cyst? Because I'm just not sure. I have to look it up.
As she said rightly, because the kidney filters everything. If it does not have all the necessary nutrients and the water it needs, you can have these things developing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we have two more.
Well, only question I have, you were talking about D3 and you needed to use K2. That's across the board, men and women, or just women?
Pretty much women. Now, a man may need some too, because especially if he's going through whatever it is he's going through, his menopause. Okay, they got that too.
Andropause.
They do. They call it andropause, but I call it menopause. Okay, because they do go through that. So they may need some K2 as well, but you only need like 100 mcgs of K2. Okay, but you do need it with the D3, so it will get into the bones. So if you got some problems with some joints, aches and pains or something like that, then yeah, I would say take it with the K2.
Yeah, you mentioned about coffee enema. Can you go through that for me, please?
Yes, yes, I love coffee enemas. Coffee enemas clean your small intestines, right? If you do a colonic, it's going to go up into your large intestines. But coffee enemas, you lay on your right side, right? And you want to take 3 tablespoons to a quart of water of coffee, right? And you don't want to get the decaf because the decaf is missing something. I can't remember what it's missing, but it's missing something. So you don't want that. So you want to get the regular coffee. If all you can get is Maxwell House coffee, get it. Get it, pray, and ask the Lord to bless it. All right? That's what I tell people. I mean, if you don't have it, if you can't afford it, get what you can get, and the Lord will work with what you can get. Okay? And then what you want to do, 3 tablespoons to a quart of water, you want to boil it for about 5 minutes. And then you want to strain it, let it cool. And you want to start out, if you've never done one, I would start off with about 4 to 6 ounces of coffee. 4 to 6 ounces. All right, lay on your right side because when you do a coffee enema, it is not the same as drinking coffee. Okay, it's going through the back door, so it doesn't even go in your bloodstream. It goes straight to the portal vein in your liver, and it's actually an irritant to your liver. And what it will cause your liver to do is to produce bile, B-I-L-E. Bile is made in the liver, is stored in the gallbladder. Okay, and then that's going to upchuck, and that's going to allow you to have a bowel movement, and it's going to go straight out. So if you can lay on your right side for 15 minutes, like I said, all the blood passes through your liver every 5 minutes, okay? So if you can lay on your right side for 15 minutes, you're going to get 3 passes to clean your liver. I love coffee enemas, especially for people that are sick with cancer. I say take 2 or 3 a day for 3 weeks, and then you can give your body a little break and start again. It's not going to hurt you. I have done it for people 30 days straight, and it has not hurt them. It's actually helped them. Okay? Because a liver is an organ that it metabolizes everything in the body, right? So if it can't metabolize it for some reason, it don't know what to do with it, it's going to just reabsorb back into your bloodstream. So you want to get those toxins out. And that's a quick way to do
I
it.
was just asking, so why the liver and not the kidney? Because we know that the kidney, um, it get rid of toxins. So
It does too. Both do.
oh,
Both do.
Both of them.
Both do. The kidneys are powerful. They are powerful. They are. They're just as powerful as that liver, but that liver is powerful. It is. But you're right. You need to make sure you're drinking your water and keep those kidneys filtering.
In regards to drinking water, I've heard like the water from here versus like Europe, is not, we don't really have much minerals in our water. So sometimes here, the people from USA usually have to drink more water, like double or twice the amount versus someone in Europe. What would you recommend? Like lemon in water, a little salt in the water, or what should we be adding to our water?
You could do both. You can add a little bit of Celtic salt sometimes, and you may not need it every day. And sometimes you can add a little lemon to your water. Shirley?
Yes, both lemon or the Celtic salt. Because that helps with, and the Celtic salt have about what? 92 to 100 minerals.
Yeah.
So yes, once you add the Celtic salt, you'll be getting minerals in your body.
Can you explain the difference between alkaline body and what's the other one?
Acidic.
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 Because there's so many all kind of things out there.
Shirley, I don't know. You go.
In an acidic body, you have a lot of toxins floating in the body that is not eliminated. And so in order to eliminate those toxins being reabsorbed into the blood and circulating the body will cause disease. So in order to bring the body into balance, because the body has to operate in balance, what we call homeostasis. So if you have high toxin, then you will have a lot of disease, which can result in what? Your fibroids, your cysts, all these things.
Cancer.
However, if your body is in balance, then your immune system is able to fight off these disease-forming particles in your body and expel them. So in order to bring balance, then you need to bring more alkaline food into your body to reduce the toxin and the high acidity in the body. So you only need to have alkaline your body if it's too toxic. But if your body's in homeostasis, in the balance, and you eat your fruits and your vegetables on a daily basis, then your body will be operating at the balance that it should. And we need to understand that we need to go back to God's original
Yes.
diet.
Yes. Yes.
Fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains. If we use these foods on a daily basis, we will be getting the nutrients that our body needs, because the spirit of prophecy says in these food contain all the nutrients
That's right.
that we need.
That's right.
So let's leave the processed foods alone. I know sometimes we are busy
I know.
and we want to get a quick fix or a quick meal. And so we grab a canned item or some prepared foods from the deli, but they do not have the nutrients that our body needs. So let's get the food. As somebody calls it, the one ingredient. In each food you eat, you must be able to know what the one ingredient is in that food. So you must be able to identify the ingredient from nature. So each day, have a bowl of fruits. You can have it at breakfast or at dinner time. Have a plate or a bowl of salad, and you'll be ensured that you're getting all the alkaline foods, all the nutrients that your body needs. You can top your salad with some nuts, some grains. You can also do that with your fruit, and you'll be getting the nutrients that your body needs. So let's go back to basics.
And I will add, you do nuts raw, unsalted.
Yes,
We went through this
raw
in class.
unsalted.
Raw, unsalted nut. Okay.
And the nuts you get in the supermarket they're processed with a lot of fat
That's right.
and a lot of salt, high blood pressure.
And they could be rancid too.
Exactly.
They sit on them shelf.
All right, now the
Okay,
last
we have
one.
to-
Roxy always asking me every day how much protein does his body need. Look, ask the question. Hold on.
Okay, say you lift weights. How much protein do you need to rebuild the system?
Okay, some of us, when we think about protein, if we're coming from a meat-eating
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
we are taught that this is the amount of protein that you need. So when we transfer into a plant-based lifestyle, we think we need to have all this amount of protein. You just need like a handful of protein.
That's it. That's it.
And all the foods that God has provided for us has protein,
That's right.
fat, and carbohydrate in varying amounts. So if you eat them in combination, you will get all that you need.
You will.
And if you're working out, then you can add some more seeds. Sesame seeds, high in protein.
Mm-hmm.
So you can add that to your cereals or your fruit or your salad. You get protein in your nuts, hemp seeds, all those things.
You get it in your
All the
beans.
things that God has provided for us in nature has protein.
That's right.
So as you eat a balanced meal, you get the amount of protein that you need
You get
to build muscles
that's it.
and
And
to take care of your dietary needs.
and I'll add this because I do work out too, and I do strength training. Now I don't lift over 20 pounds, all right, but I've been working out for 20 years. So if I feel like I need a little something extra, I might do a protein shake, okay, and I'll add a little bit of some pea protein or something like that to it. Some protein with some collagen because when you get through menopause, your body loses collagen.
Yeah.
So I'll add some protein with some collagen in it as well. And I just have that with and mix my greens with it. And I got my greens, right? And I got my protein. I mean, I got what I need. So
And your leafy greens, they have a lot of protein in them.
they do. They do.
The leaves are for the healing of the nation. So let's, ladies, especially, we need to have those leafy greens to protect our bones. So when we get old and we get into menopause, we will not have those brittle
right.
bones. So let's, men also, because you also suffer from estrogen dominance.
Menopause. What they go through.
Andropause.
All right, we have the last one, and we're gonna have to
All right.
close. Go ahead, the last.
Yeah, I just want to add, Sister Tanya. So you
Yes.
said collagen. A lot of collagen is usually derived from
Our,
animal.
our bodies make it though.
Our
Our
bodies
bodies do make collagen, and you can get plant-based collagen.
Oh, they
as
sell
well.
that.
You
Okay,
can.
I never
Yep.
knew that.
Mm-hmm.
All that we need, ladies and gentlemen, the Lord has placed in our bodies. We
Yes.
have an amazing
We
body,
do.
Amen.
but we
Because
complicate
that's right.
the system by putting things in our bodies that do not belong there.
Amen.
So if we go back to the basics, what God has prescribed for us and what He has given to us, we will have amazing health.
Amen.
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 All right, praise the Lord, church. Another wonderful. We want to thank the Centurion Ministry for this evening's talk. We're going to stand and close off. The Sabbath is almost ended, and so we want to sing 56. All right, hymn number 56 to close off the Sabbath as we enter into a new week. If we have our phones, we can just go there quickly. 56. The day thou gavest, Lord, has ended, you know. Do we all have it? All right, after 3, 2, 3. The day thou gavest, Lord, is ended. The darkness falls at thy behest. To thee are morning hymns ascended. Thy praise shall hallow now our rest. We thank thee, thy church unsleeping, while earth rolls onward into light. Through all world her walk is keeping and rests not now by day or night. As old each continent and island
Dawn
leads on another day. The voice of prayer is never silent, nor dark the strains of praise away. So be thy throne shall never like earth, proud empires pass away. Thy kingdom stands and grows forever, till all thy creatures on thy sway. Amen. Let us kneel if we can. Prayer. O most kind and loving Father in heaven, we are so thankful and grateful, dear Lord, for the day we spent within your courts. We thank you for the blessings we've received from morning until now. We thank you for the fellowship and for the camaraderie. As we leave from this place, Lord, to go back to our homes, may we find them in the same manner we left them. Give us all safe traveling journeys home. Give us strength to take on tomorrow's challenges. And if it is in thy divine providence, bring us here back at the appointed time. We pray that when time on earth shall be no more, all of us in this church and those online would have made our call and election sure. These mercies we ask in Jesus' name. And let the words of our mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. All right, Saints, drive safely home. Remember, tomorrow is our autism walk, so if you're going to be there, we look forward to seeing you guys. You can still catch the 3rd week of the medical missionary training course. I've been going and has been revolutionary, and we look forward to see you guys. God bless you until we see you next week.